Coming up this afternoon, Speaker of Parliament expected to meet leadership in the wake of controversies over the passage of Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. Also this hour, 15 people confirmed dead after fatal road crash at Peki in the Volta region. And this afternoon, we'll also take you to the Circuit Court where lawyers of NPP's Bono Region Chairman Kwame Bafo, popularly referred to as Abron, are seeking a variation of his bill conditions. News Central live on TV3. I'm Kemeni Amano. The news starts right now. Now, the controversies surrounding Ghana's Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill and its passage do not seem to be ending anytime soon. The reintroduced bill was passed by Parliament Friday, May 29th, in the absence of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Bakbin, and the NPP minority who staged a walkout. Now, the Speaker says he's surprised the bill was passed because there was no consensus or quorum. He further noticed that he had expected Parliament to commence only the consideration stage before he left the House. Let's take a listen to the Speaker.
You know the copious instruments and laws on human rights. All over. You have to go through all, from the UN Charter to the African People's Rights and what, all. You have to go through all. Then we have also our development partners who have a lot of contribution to make. We have the United Nations coming in with proposals, some memo and everything. We as Ghanaians also have to dig deeper into our cultures, our customs, our values before we came out with what was passed on Friday. And in fact, when it was passed on Friday, it was even a surprise to me, because I knew that we're going to start the consideration of the bill. And that was the instructions I left before I went to attend to other activities. It was Friday, and members wanted to go home early to their constituencies, what we're going to see today. And so I knew they wouldn't have completed. But all of a sudden, I read about this passage. I reacted, and later I saw on TV all the things that happened. And so this evening, I've asked the leaders to meet me in my office. So they'll be here for us to go through it. This is such a critical bill that we believe there must be consensus. But it's not about passing bill. It's about implementing it and making sure that it benefits the people.
Now, speaking during a question and answer session at Chatham House in the UK, President Mahama said several procedural and legal issues surrounding the bill must first be addressed before any decision is taken on presidential assent. Let's listen to the President.
Parliament has been considering it, and it was supposed to have been passed last week. There have been a few issues raised. One, that there wasn't quorum when it was passed. That's an issue that has come up. And then two, there were some procedural lapses in terms of its passage. I just got some communication that the Speaker was reading a statement to address the issue of the lapses in the passage of the bill. And so, like I said, when I was the opposition leader, the President has a number of options in this matter. It must come for assent, and so once the president gets it, you go through it because you are not part of the discussion in Parliament. And so the legal representative, the legal counsel in the presidency and the Attorney General would sit on it because it was a private member's motion. Right. This was not a government bill. And so we'll look at it and make sure that everything is in order before the president is advised to assent. The president has another option if there are some things that he thinks are a problem. He can refer to the Council of State for advice. The Council of State is an advisory body to the president, and so they will take a look at it, and then they will advise the president. And if there are issues, substantial issues that are raised, the president would return the bill to Parliament, indicating exactly what the issues are. And so there's still quite a while to go before that bill becomes law.
Meanwhile, the minority caucus insists the legislation is not fit for purpose because the new version does not prohibit promotion of lesbian, gay, bisexual and queer activities due to amendments and exemptions included in it. Here's Reverend Intim Fojo.
On behalf of the minority caucus, we have called this press conference to ask a simple question, but very simple, but very serious questions, very serious questions on behalf of the Ghanaian people. And the question is, what changed? What has changed in our values from 2024? And what has changed now in 2026? Have Ghanaians changed their values on LGBT since 2024? If that has not changed, if nothing has changed in our value system, then the bill which Ghana passed, Ghanaians wanted, 93% of the population deemed as very important, should be the same bill that is important to the Ghanaian people today. What has changed? In 2024, Ghanaians were told that the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill required only presidential assent. That was all that Ghanaians said they needed. Indeed, NDC were very forceful in joining those calls, but all that was needed was presidential assent. The country was urged to pressure President Nana Addo Dankwa to sign the bill immediately. In 2026, however, the same bill, when we place it before them, in the expectation that the same President Mahama, who promised to sign the same bill that they wanted President Akufo-Addo, and we all wanted President Akufo-Addo to sign. However, when that bill was placed, the bill in that form was not presented to President Mahama, but had to be mutilated, had to go through major surgeries, had to be amended, had to be deleted. Original provisions from the bill 22 had to be deleted, redrafted, and 31 insertions made before President Mahama would have it and desire it to sign it. Was that the promise? Was the promise to come and amend, review, mutilate, alterate, dilute the bill before he signs? You all remember. The promise was clear. Vote for me. I will come and sign the bill. On all their platforms, they said, vote MPP out because they won't sign the bill. Vote NDC. NDC will come and sign that bill. They did not say NDC will come and amend that bill. NDC will come and review that bill. NDC will come and delete provisions from that bill and redraft it before we sign. That is a scam, and that is breach of trust. That is deception, and that is hypocrisy.
Let's get some legal education on the stalemate with regards to the passage of this bill. Justice Abdullahi is a constitutional lawyer. And Justice, I appreciate your time with us this afternoon. Just before we get into the legal matters of this, is it just me, or there appears to be some feet dragging and flip-flopping on the part of government as far as this bill is concerned?
Naturally, the posture of government from Parliament and indeed to the executive clearly shows some form of inertia, discomfort in approaching this overly sensitive matter in how it eventually becomes an act of Parliament for the purposes of implementation. It is obvious, and it is obvious because of the nature of it and how the international community responds to anything in relation to this area. There are indeed a lot of, if you like, strong opposition to any African country attempting to make a law forbidding homosexuality across the globe. But even though it is not the same within their jurisdictions, we saw how Trump's position on this subject has been. And you do not see the same level of resistance within their own countries. But if we do it, of course, the whole world turns up against us. And so, it's sometimes your aid is tied to this. So the whole gamut of international diplomacy and the economic benefits attached to it is somehow symbiotically related to your decision on this subject. And so I can understand why the government is quite uncomfortable about the approach to this.
Very well. Now, let's look at the legal matters that have cropped up as a result of this. We know that the Speaker has summoned leadership of both sides, but explain to us, is it legal that after a bill has passed, the Speaker of Parliament can now get involved and say that let's look at this again?
Legally, so long as the bill went through the entire processes that is required under the standing orders of Parliament to be passed, the Speaker's discomfort about it cannot alter going forward how things happen. Of course, that is not to say that practically we can discount the Speaker's signature before the bill can be sent to the President, the office of the President for his assent. Let's remember, once the bill is passed, the Speaker will have to add a certificate to it before it can be dispatched to the office of the President. And so the Speaker does have that control, but to reenact the law, he doesn't have that authority. And so if any amendment has to be made, possibly the only thing they can do is to get the Attorney General's involvement or everybody else, all stakeholders involvement, and then maybe probably a new one, ignore this one, or play like a discard attitude, and then wait until the time runs out on all of us. But to say that because the Speaker left different instructions or is not in consonance with what has been passed cannot alter what has been done. It can't. The Speaker's decision cannot change what has already been done.
What if we introduce the angle or the element of the fact that the Speaker says that, there are issues around whether or not the Speaker, but there are issues around whether or not there was quorum enough to have been able to pass that bill, if indeed we are able to establish that?
Unfortunately, just unfortunately, this issue has been dealt with by the Supreme Court in the case of Justice Abdullah and Attorney General. And then, of course, the earlier cases of Tufo and Attorney General, where the Supreme Court's position has always been one and the same. Now, once Parliament takes a division, it's a closed book to the rest of us. It's a decision of Parliament. How it arrived at that decision cannot be revisited. If you are challenging the legality of what has happened, that you can do. But even that cannot be done without going through the standing orders of Parliament. And so the only other avenue is for you to go to the court or to seek that redress. And so you cannot use your numbers necessarily to undo what has been done without having to follow due process and the standing orders of Parliament.
I see, which means that where we are today, there are only two chips to be played, and by the executive and the judiciary. That's all.
Unfortunately, that's the only room available at this point. The discomfort notwithstanding, it is a difficult position for all sides. That is why the Speaker is showing leadership by talking to the leadership of Parliament with the hope that there can be some form of agreement as to how to navigate this area, because it is the only way if you want to avoid the pitfall of going to court or not sending the bill to the president for his assent. The only other option is to have the buy-in of the leadership to figure out a way of addressing this. Because once it has gone through all the required processes, there's very little that can be done.
And so how do you see the Speaker, the minority and majority leaders coming out of this meeting? Empty-handed?
I see the Speaker using his good office to convince the minority in particular, not the majority, to come up with something that is more acceptable to all sides. Now, let's remember that the majority indeed has the numbers, even if the minority does not agree to whatever proposal the Speaker is at this point thinking of. And I am trying to figure out exactly what the Speaker is trying to achieve in this. Because once the bill has been passed, I do not know how he can usher in an amendment into what has been passed without having to present a completely new bill. And so I am trying to really understand the object of the Speaker's meeting, engagement with the leadership first off, before we can even think of the solutions that he is envisaging to be a possible quality outcome of this engagement. Because it's a rather difficult position once this bridge has been crossed. And so we may have to understand what the Speaker is seeking to achieve first before we can project into whether it will be a prosperous one or a failed meeting.
I want to talk about the bill itself as it's been passed. We hear from the minority that, look, there has been about 3 dozen or nearly 3 dozen amendments. The one held in contention is the part on exemptions. Is there anything wrong with it as we have it?
So what I hear the minority to be crying over is essentially that what has been passed today is not what was presented to President Koforidua to sign. It is, if that is a correct position of the minority's cry, I beg to ask, where were they when the bill was being amended? Were they not in Parliament? What input did they make? They are part of Parliament. It's not as if Parliament, simply because they are a minority, they do not have a say. Why didn't they bring all these to the attention of all of us as Ghanaians? So we make inputs, and if there's a need for any advocacy, all of us join in that advocacy drive to ensure that what is eventually passed is what inures to the collective good of the Ghanaian, rather than waiting for the whole thing to be passed and now pretending to be innocent when you are actually complicit in the very act that you're complaining of. This is where I am frustrated and disappointed in the minority, because you are part of the whole process. You sat in the first reading, the second reading, until it was passed. Why didn't you raise these issues? Why didn't you bring it to the attention of the Ghanaian? So we all contribute to this discourse. And so I do not see the minority as innocent in what has happened. I see them as accomplices to whatever they are complaining of. Whether it's good or bad, they were part of it, and they are equally to blame for it if it is bad. If it is good, of course they share into the glory.
Very well, Justice, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much. Justice Abdullah is a constitutional lawyer. We've just been looking at some of the legal issues raised around the current human rights, sexual rights and family values bill, and really some of the exemptions and concerns raised by the minority, but most importantly, the meeting summoned by the Speaker of Parliament because of his own concerns about procedure leading to that. Let's connect now with Crosby, who is in Parliament. We'll find out whether or not there's any indication the Speaker himself is there and whether or not he is meeting with leadership. Crosby, what can you tell us?
Well, Kamini, so it will be an interesting day in Parliament, just like all other days. Today, for instance, we're expecting to have some conversations going on in the House. Amongst them is the levels of some bills that we're talking about. This is the order paper of the House. The Community Service Bill is expected to be considered today, the Interstate Succession Bill, and then Maritime and Related Offences Bill 2026. These bills are on the table to be deliberated upon today. The consideration stage means that this is where we're going to have a clause by clause, understanding or explanation, interpretation, analysis of everything that is captured in these bills. Also, in the order paper today, we're expecting some private member motions to come up today. And if that happens too, it means that the House will be willing to talk about it. As part of the expectations today is also that the Minister for Communications, Samuel Nati George, is expected to come to the House today and then respond to some questions. Some of the questions that will be posed to him include those from Matthew Nyendam, the MP for Kwandai. He is expected to ask the Minister for Communication for an update on the MOU the military signed with Rectrin Group to invest some $150 million in Airtel Tigo. That's just one of the questions. Dr. Zinato Ajima-Rawlings is also tabled to ask a question to the Communications Minister on measures the ministry has put in place to ensure telecommunication companies provide quality service to consumers. Now, if all of these are adopted by the House, it means that it will happen. And then there's also the Offensive North Member of Parliament. I'm talking about Dr. Fred Chea Samoa, to ask the Minister the status of the rural telephony project at Akumadan District Assembly, as well as some other areas in his constituency. So these are just some of the questions that will be asked the Minister for Communications, or that have been tabled to be asked to the Communications Minister when he comes to Parliament today. Beyond that, we're also seeing that some statements is expected to be taken by the House today, and I'll walk you through some of them right away. There's the expectation that the Minister for Finance, Dr. Toforsing, will make a statement on Ghana's new engagement with the International Monetary Fund. We know that something of the sort happened last week with the Finance Minister, but beyond that as well, the Honourable Afeyo Maki, the MP for Ifutu, is also to make a statement on free speech and the rule of law. Now, this is of particular interest to the minority leader because of the position or what the NPP has been saying in the past couple of months.
Crosby Annan with that report from Parliament. Let's go overseas now, where President John Dramani Mahama has held a breakfast meeting with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer to advance Ghana's long-standing bilateral relations with the United Kingdom. The closed-door deliberations focus on trade and investment, coming barely a day after both countries signed a growth partnership agreement on the sidelines of the Ghana-UK Investment Summit. Ghana is seeking to attract private investments into the country, enable easier trade for Ghanaian businesses, drive industrial growth, and deliver world-class education. Let's connect now with Christian Yale, who is traveling with the president on this trip to the United Kingdom. Christian, the president has been speaking with Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister. What are we learning from that conversation?
In fact, Kamini, when you look at the conversations that the president has had with the UK Prime Minister, largely everything has centered around job creation, opportunities, bankable opportunities, as well as bilateral relations between Ghana and the UK. Just yesterday, that landmark, growth partnership agreement was signed at the Ghana-UK Investment Summit. In fact, Kamini, right now I have seen the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer make a post welcoming the president and talking about why their interactions matters, especially backing UK job opportunities and as well helping Ghana. Kamini, we know that about 670 UK foreign direct investment opportunities or businesses are in Ghana as we speak. And last year alone, we had about 1.8 billion pounds coming out of these partnerships. And so it has become only necessary. UK has one of the vibrant Ghanaian communities that you can ever have. And so with the president's breakfast meeting with Keir Starmer, it just signals again that renewal of the friendship that these two countries share and the history between Ghana and the UK that dates all the way back to the colonial era. And so if I should just read verbatim what the Prime Minister posted, he says that, "Welcome to Downing Street, President Mahama. Today we are building even stronger relationship between our two countries," and says that they are backing British jobs and attracting investment into the UK. And so that is basically the essence of it. And we know that the president was there with some critical, sector ministers to also advance that bilateral relations and push for the kind of investment that Ghana needs coming in.
Do we know what else the president is doing in the United Kingdom after visiting 10 Downing Street?
In fact, we know that he's also expected to hold a royal meeting with King Charles III, and so that is very likely. But then today, the Ghana-UK Investment Summit is expected to come to a close. So he is again expected to deliver the closing remarks to close this two-day investment summit. And then there are other private engagement that he would have before he would make a return to Ghana to continue his official duties. And so we know that this morning already there are a number of breakfast meetings that the president has attended.
And speaking of breakfast meetings, we know that the central bank governor has also been having his own breakfast meetings with industry players in the United Kingdom. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, you know that, Kamini, Ghana has the Ghana International Bank that is based in London here. What it means is that it has become one of the oldest indigenous banks the country has had that is working and serving as the liaison between African countries. Right now, the Ghana International Bank is operating across about 17 countries in Africa and in the UK as well. And so being the board chairman of the Ghana International Bank, there was that high-level exclusive breakfast meeting that involved the finance minister as well as Ghana's, a high commissioner to the UK deputy, as well as other, industry leaders. See, what the governor of the Bank of Ghana has been saying is that looking at what we call the trade financing gap challenges across the country and even across the globe, it has become very important that Ghana International Bank, leverages its international reputation to address some of those challenges. We can take a listen to Dr. Johnson Asiama speak at that breakfast meeting.
Across Africa, the trade finance gap is estimated at over $80 billion annually. $80 billion annually. And this gap represents more than just unmet demand for credit. It represents stalled shipments, unrealized exports, constrained SMEs, and lost opportunities for industrialization. It is in effect a growth constraint on our economies. So addressing this gap is not a technical exercise as such. It is a development imperative for us to consider. Institutions such as Ghana International Bank are uniquely positioned to respond to this challenge. With a strong presence in international financial markets and deep understanding of African trade corridors, GHIB and similar banks serve as essential conduits between global liquidity and local enterprise. They enable exporters to access working capital, provide guarantees that facilitate cross-border transactions, and de-risk trade flows in ways that can unlock confidence for international counterparties.
We in Ghana are proud of our bank, the Ghana International Bank. The message we bring to you is that Ghana has stabilized, Ghana is reforming, and Ghana is transforming very fast. And most importantly, Ghana is ready for investment, we are ready for partnership, and we are ready for opportunity. But obviously, GHIB has a role to play.
Ghana's finance minister there, and earlier was the governor of the central bank, Dr. Asiama himself as well. We also had a conversation with Christian Yale, who's in the UK right now, traveling with the Ghana's team to the Ghana-UK Investments Summit. We'll turn attention to a rather tragic story in which 15 people have died in a fatal accident that injured 25 others in Peki in the Volta region. According to a press release from the Public Relations Unit, a total of 40 people were involved in this accident, comprising 21 males, 15 females, and 4 children. The crash occurred at Peki near Peki Senior High School in the early hours of Tuesday, 2nd June 2026, in a head-on collision involving a Mercedes-Benz container truck traveling from Nkwanta to Accra and another Mercedes-Benz passenger bus traveling from Bato to Kabiti in the Oti region. Now, the Ghana National Fire Service have been on this development since news broke of this accident. Alex King Nate is ADO of the Fire Service in the headquarters. He's joining us with a bit more on this. Alex, what else does the Fire Service know about how this accident occurred?
So thank you very much for having me. As you actually said, the accident happened around the early hours of 1:52 a.m. It is worth noting that that area is an area that is accident prone. Again, our officers at the Peki Fire Station do attend to more accidents than even they do to fires. And so it is a worrying trend, and they have to work hard through the early hours all through to be able to rescue 25 people, out of which 23 were adults and 2 were children. And then 15 people unfortunately lost their lives, 9 males and 6 females. And so it's been a worrying situation, especially speaking with my colleague in the Peki region, the Peki area. They mentioned that the area has a lot of curves. And so when people are not used to the curves within this area, and then they end up driving, especially looking at that late hour, there's that high probability for head-on collision. Again, there are no street lights there, and so looking at an area that has a lot of curves in there and low visibility, it makes it quite difficult. It makes it quite difficult to be able to navigate the terrain. So, as we speak, the district commander for the area is visiting the victims along with the DCB so that they'll be able to get some more insight more insight as to what could have really caused this accident. So the cause of the accident is currently under investigation.
Alex, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. We'll stay on this rather tragic and heartbreaking story. We'll connect now with Faisal Abdul-Idrisu, who's our correspondent. Well, my understanding is we cannot connect with Faisal at this time. Perhaps in subsequent broadcasts we will do so. But here's what you can expect when we come back from this break. Lawyers of NPP's Bono Region Chairman Abron DC seek variation of bail conditions for their client. We'll tell you how that played out in court on the other side of this break.
In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abnanya Kwasmeni, coming soon on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Ghana's Most Beautiful is 20 years, and to kickstart the special anniversary season, you are warmly invited to an exclusive royal ball and fundraiser for a legacy project. An evening shared with our cherished partners distinguished past queens, and the remarkable individuals who have shaped this journey over the years. Join us at 8 p.m. sharp on the 6th of June at the Adisa Pavilion within the prestigious Labadi Beach Hotel. Red carpet is live at 6 p.m. Come for the elegance, stay for the purpose, be part of the legacy. Ghana's most beautiful 20 years of culture, grace, and legacy. This event is strictly by invitation.
In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abnanya Kwasmini, coming soon on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Ghana's most beautiful is 20 years, and to kickstart the special anniversary season, you are warmly invited to an exclusive royal ball and fundraiser for a legacy project. An evening shared with our cherished partners, distinguished past queens, and the remarkable individuals who have shaped this journey over the years. Join us at 8 p.m. sharp on the 6th of June at the Adisa Pavilion within the prestigious Labadi Beach Hotel. Red carpet is live at 6 p.m. Come for the elegance, stay for the purpose, be part of the legacy. Ghana's most beautiful 20 years of culture, grace, and legacy. This event is strictly by invitation.
In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abnanya Kwasmini, coming soon on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Ghana's most beautiful is 20 years, and to kickstart the special anniversary season, you are warmly invited to an exclusive royal ball and fundraiser for a legacy project. An evening shared with our cherished partners, distinguished past queens, and the remarkable individuals who have shaped this journey over the years. Join us at 8 p.m. sharp on the 6th of June at the Adisa Pavilion within the prestigious Labadi Beach Hotel. Red carpet is live at 6 p.m. Come for the elegance, stay for the purpose, be part of the legacy. Ghana's most beautiful 20 years of culture, grace, and legacy. This event is strictly by invitation.
Welcome back to News Central here on TV3. I'm Kamini Amano. Now, lawyers of NPP's Bono Region Chairman Kwame Bafo, popularly referred to as Abron DC, are seeking a variation of bail conditions for their client. Abron is on a 100,000 cedi bail with 2 sureties to be justified. He's also to deposit his travel documents with the court registrar and report to the police CID every fortnight. He is facing charges of offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace and publication of false news over alleged derogatory remarks against a circuit court judge. Earlier, the presiding judge at the circuit court cautioned counsel for Abron, who raised objections to court proceedings which they noted were incomplete. Let's connect now with Lord Eduasare, who's a court correspondent on this matter. Lord, what else can you tell us about the attempt to vary the bail conditions for Abron? Did it work?
Unfortunately not, Kemini. So basically, Abron and his lawyers came to court today seeking to vary the bail conditions. We understand has to do with him depositing his travel documents to the court registrar. In the bail variation application, which is yet to be moved, they are seeking that his passports and travel documents essentially be released to him for medical reasons, among other things. Now, when the case was called today, the court indicated that they had just been served with that, with those processes, and then the prosecution in the matter had also indicated that they had filed an affidavit of opposition, which they had also served to the court. So the court asked that they will have to adjourn the case to basically assess and go through the documentation of the processes which has been filed by the lawyers for Abron as well as the prosecution. And so the case has been adjourned to Thursday for the motion to be heard and then ruling on the matter. But even before the High Court case, there was a bit of drama at the Circuit Court. You remember that Abron was remanded into BNI custody over charges of publication of false news, and then one other charge that has to do with stirring up the public with regards to making alleged derogatory remarks concerning a circuit court judge. Now, Abron was before that circuit court judge, and then the lawyers they raised issue with court proceedings from the last time they were in court. Now, this was their case. They indicated that the last time they were in court, the circuit court judge had, in his ruling, had indicated that Abron be remanded into BNI custody until the final determination of that matter. Now, the initial ruling was that he would be remanded into prison custody, but the lawyers appealed that and then pleaded with the court, and so that was changed to BNI custody. Now, this was what the lawyers say they had, but when they were served the court proceedings of the day, that portion of the ruling indicated that Abron was to be remanded into BNI custody until the next adjourned dates, essentially meaning that he was supposed to be having remanded for 2 weeks. Now, they raised objections to the court proceedings, essentially alleging that the details that happened in court was not what was captured by the court proceedings. Now, the presiding judge in the matter took that indication that the allegations they were making were in that amounted to forging judicial or court documents, and that has serious implications. Now, because of that, the judge then caused the clerk to bring back those proceedings, and then he read it in open court. Now, in open court, it came out that the ruling had to say that the Abron be remanded into BNI custody until the next adjourned date.
Well, it would appear we lost Lord Eduasare on that connection to court, but we can take a listen to Abron and his lawyer. Here, take a look.
And I by Omukase Mrane. And that's where we do it. The Jena boy, man, say, Emra Tezi, Sebeya, Obinya, Adaja, all the documents I have filed so far. The number will come back on Thursday.
In court today, my lord referred to the court record and the objection we raised with the court as to the incomplete nature of the record of proceedings as we received. My lord raised that, on the record, there was nowhere that they indicated that the accused person was remanded into custody until the final determination of the case. My lord has admonished that we rectify the issue with the registrar. And now, as I said, I'm counsel on record, and my legal team has.
Well, Lord Edwasari brought us that report from court, but we'll stay there because former Western Region Minister Kwabena Okyere-Darko-Mensah has been discharged by the court after he testified as a third defense witness for former MPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Wontumi. Among other things, Okyere-Darko-Mensah admitted during cross-examination that he was unaware of the conversation between Wontumi and Henry Okumi, who is the prosecution witness number 2, which resulted in the latter mining on his concession at Samre Boy. Lord Edwasari reports.
Bernard Enchi-Boisiakon, also known as Wontumi, is facing charges of assigning mining rights without the approval of the land minister and facilitating illegal mining operations on the Samre Boy concession in the Western region. Former Western Regional Minister Kwabena Okyere-Darko-Mensah, who also served as chairman of the Western Regional Security Council, told the court during his testimony that a formal complaint was received from Akonta Mining about the invasion of illegal mining operators on Wontumi Samre Boy concession. He affirmed that the complaint was written and documented and was urgently acted upon by the Security Council, as it was consistent with several complaints from other mining rights owners in the region about organized criminal groups invading concessions and carrying out illegal mining. During cross-examination by Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai, the former minister, who served from 2017 to 2025, disclosed that he did not personally know the prosecution's second witness, Henry Okum, the individual who testified that he was commissioned by Wontumi to mine on his concession. Henry Okum had further told the court that Wontumi did not produce any formal mining rights. Asked about the engagement between Okum and Wontumi, Darko-Mensah indicated that he was unaware of the interaction between the small-scale miner and the NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman. Lead counsel and the Apia Kubi expressed satisfaction with the outcome of the testimony.
Was to indicate that it was rather Chairman Wontumi and his company that made reports to his office as then chairman of the Western Regional Security Council, and that all efforts made by the Security Council to ward off illegal miners and also to redeem or reclaim the lands so degraded by illegal mining were at his instance. So today's evidence sits very well with our own, and indeed it exonerates people who engage in reclamation of degraded lands.
Defense lawyers are set to call their next witness on Wednesday, June 3. Lord Edwasari, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, residents of Kenke Factory, a suburb of Koforidua, are demanding sustainable drainage systems and wider culverts to address recurring floods in the area. The flooding, which residents blame on ongoing China Mall construction, has affected the community in recent weeks. Although the Eastern Region Minister Rita Akosua-Awate ordered a suspension of work on the project over a week ago to allow for proper drainage works, residents say only partial desilting has been done and it is not enough. Now, TV3 correspondent Yvonne Nikwe was in the community to interact with residents on their concerns and propose solutions. Let's now hear from the residents.
During construction time, for them to just have a look at it. So that cover needs to be opened. Yeah, they just need to open the culvert and then allow the water to flow safely, or allow the water to flow normally, how it should be flowing.
I think when they do it well, it will help the situation. Even if not all the safer, it will help somehow. Except they remove the gutters, they do the gutter well, open the gutter, the channel, so that when the rain falls, it can flow fluent or fast. Oh, I love people's materials. I'm a tailor. I sew in the house. People came and give me materials. I have many materials there. Even after that, the material that spoil, I can't dry it. Even when I dry it, there will be stains inside, and I cannot use it anymore. It's not necessary to keep it that material. So I just burn them and forget about it because it's happened already.
Nana say ya boys be yes China for abeto ha edo how bebre abrain ye di kan ekowurawura edem na eyi nkrofo niema ye maami say owu ye mfi afeni akiraba ono sa nso ni yiri sa na eko ni dem na ne mani ni ho timra ne mani ba ye na ewura kododo so won pagya no de ne kodu hospital ni.
Now, some traditional leaders in Jakobu, the capital of the Amansie Central District in the Ashanti region, have protested to oppose the sit-in of the government's proposed the siting of the government's proposed 24-hour market project. Now, these residents say they are discontent that the project site has allegedly been relocated to Mile 9 instead of Jakobu. Addressing the media, Jasehene of Jakobu, Nana Enim Koko, expressed disappointment over what he described as the disregard for the concerns and interests of the traditional council and the people of Jakobu.
That town, any Jakobu, district capital, any Jakobu. You say, no, one more at the Abasa on Baba Yamayan, and Penifo Bebusa and I'm doing baby. I know. Ampa ye kire wo mo asase a e kire se wo betumi ayi dwumadie wo ho dwumadie no de o mpese wo me ho bia no e betumi akọ amana yeyi ye ne ye wura DC ye wo Amansie Central ehia wo ho ama wo mo ma eti ase se ampa wo mama ya asase no ye de asase na ma wo mo didie tie bia no wo me beba be dwumadie no e wo ha maye.
Evans Inkom is our correspondent on this beat. Evans, what more can you tell us about this protest and whether officials are willing to engage traditional leaders on their grievances?
From the municipal or district chief executives, as far as the Amansie Central is concerned, but to these traditional, council members, they believe that there's some level of breach of trust, and it is stemming from what they describe as the fact that, there has been a sudden change of mind. Considering earlier conversation with traditional authorities, I'm talking about the siting of the 24-hour market within that particular enclave, that is between the traditional authority and that of government. Because they thought that Jakobu presents some level of a vibrant business environment, very conducive for this particular project. But now it has been moved to Mile 9, which is about 20 kilometers away from the district capital, Jakobu. But Kemini, let me say that this is not new as far as this particular project is concerned. The Ashanti region has recorded pockets of such miles, or if you like, a minor protest in some parts of the region.
Evans, we leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Evans Inkum, Ashanti region correspondent there with that report from Jakobu. Now, stigma, lack of funds and family support continue to pose a huge challenge to ending obstetric fistula in the northern region. According to the Regional Directorate of Health, the situation is thwarting efforts by the Directorate and other stakeholders to completely eliminate obstetric fistula cases in that region. Now, this was disclosed to TV3 following a successful repair of 12 cases in Yendi. Let's go to Tamale now and speak to correspondent Christopher Amwako on this matter. Christopher, what else is there to know about the widespread of fistula cases in the northern region and what it means for these 12 patients to get relief?
Yes, so Kemini, if you come to the northern parts of the country, fistula is seen as something that's related to witchcraft because they believe that once you have that condition, it is sort of spiritually related according to the people. So your family is stigmatized against yourself and all the people around you. It is very difficult for the people to even associate themselves with the communities in which they live in. And so the Directorate of Health here in the region has taken it upon themselves to intensify education, go to the communities to also ensure that people living with fistula get early treatment. Let's take a listen to what the Regional Directorate has been saying about the stigma and lack of funding associated with the treatment of fistula.
So for Northern region, we have a lot of fistula cases, but because of one or two reasons, in terms of stigma, lack of funding for the repairs, and then for the fistula cases, most of them usually don't have family support. So we find it difficult getting them to come out to accept that they actually have these conditions that they need. When a woman is suffering from fistula, some community members think that the woman is a witch or has offended their gods. And that is why this issue has befallen that client. So most of the times they are neglected. And when they stay at home for a very long time, before we are able to even identify and fetch them out for the treatment, the condition becomes worse. And because they are stigmatized, they don't also want to come out to say that they have the condition. And those who also even have the condition within the facilities, I mean their communities, they are confined in a room.
Well, Christopher, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much for the reporting. Christopher Mwako, Northern Region correspondent, bringing us to a close for this edition of News Central. I'm Kemeni Amano. I'll see you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.